Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. In this video we are looking at Gathering Storm, the Fracture of Biel Tan. So this is the second book in the Gathering Storm series. It's all about, obviously, Eldar, and the birth of a new god. Iniad, I think it's pronounced. If you watch enough of these videos you'll know I'll pronounce most things wrong anyway. But hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. So again we're going to just look through page by page. I will go through some of the rules and missions, as formations and stuff, in detail, but I won't talk too much about fluff. I haven't read a great deal of this book just yet. So we're just going to crack on straight into it. If this video does go past the half-hour mark, I may just make another video, so it'll be like a two-part, but we'll see how we go on. So going through, I just want to, actually, before we go any further, I just want to point out there's some nice, this bit of artwork is quite nice. There's some sort of Dark Eldar ships and stuff, and you know, don't really see a great deal of Dark Eldar artwork, so it'd be nice to see a bit more in this book. Of course, Dark Eldar, or the Drukhari, as they're now being called, do feature in this book, along with Eldar, or Eldari. There's also Ynnari, Harlequins, and there's some Chaos characters as well. The Mask, Araman and Scarbrand also feature in this book. Eldrad, I think, features quite a bit as well, which is quite nice. Good to see more of Eldrad. Speak of the devil, there he is. Backed up by some Harlequins against some Deathwatch. Of course, taken straight from the Death Mask box, no doubt. So chapter 1 is called Fracture. So there's some stuff about Chimera and Dark Eldar. It's nice to see all the Eldar sort of together, and there we have a very old piece of artwork. That was from the 3rd edition, Dark Eldar Codex, I believe. It's nice to see all the different types of artwork together. I do apologize, I'm just getting a bit caught on the tripod there. Have some stuff about Harlequins. That's gonna bug me all video. Come down a bit. Sorry, just a little bit of the bottom's just cut off. It's not the best place to film here, I'm afraid. So yeah, lots of stuff about Biel Tan. There's a really nice bit of artwork there with Scarbrand and the Mask. Let's move up a bit. Against some Biel Tan Eldar. Looks like a new piece of artwork. It's pretty cool. And there he is again. So yeah, nice to see Scarbrand getting some attention as well. What I'll do, I will just quickly adjust. I don't have too much room, I need to see. I just end up just filming my lap if I go too far up. But we are adjusting, bear with. What we'll do, we'll move it down like that. Okay. So, as you expect, lots and lots of fluff. Really cool piece of artwork of Jane's art there as well. That's really cool. So these parts of it are quite interesting. You may have seen some of these shared around online. Some of these little sort of mock communications. A lot of them are sort of hinting at what we might see in the future. There is one that mentions some orcs going towards Catachan. So maybe we'll see orcs and Catachan in the future. And there's also one what sort of hints quite a lot at a possible demon Fulgrim. Would be really cool. A really cool piece of artwork with a very lanky warlock. And also a little cat, Gyrinx or something I think they're called. Nice to see them actually included in a model. There's some more stuff about the Dark Eldar, which is nice. I do feel that Dark Eldar are one of these sort of forgotten armies in 40k. They don't get a great deal of attention at the best of times, so it's always nice when these armies get some attention, even if it's just some fluff and some artwork. But obviously these models can be used with any type of Eldar, which is nice. And I think mixing, seeing these sort of grand alliances, so to speak, is probably GW sort of edging us into a more Age of Sigmar style sort of collaboration between armies, just which I don't mind so much. Yeah. Of course you can easily ally these days, but as we'll see later on, a detachment, just like the old book, will include like all the Eldar stuff together. So it's a really cool artwork. It's nice to see some of the space battles as well. I mean, this is the artwork from the opening of the book, just in colour this time. A little bit about Uriel, and there he is. It's really cool that they're using the Forge World Great Unclean one there. Such a lovely model. Hopefully we'll see a nice plastic version one day. So yeah, as you can see there is just absolutely tons of fluff. We're now 82 pages in and it's still going. But for those of you who are interested in rules, they will be coming up, so don't panic. Again, there's more of these popping up. So yeah, I'm really impressed with all the different types of artwork. Obviously, loads of beautiful pictures of Citadel miniatures. It is a shame when you get some of like the really old stuff, sort of, you know, they haven't been updated. So like, I'd love to see all the Phoenix Lords redone eventually. Of course, the new models for Eldar, very nice. I have picked up some myself, but whether I ever get around to building and painting them is another thing. So this bit is quite interesting actually. These are all about followers of Ennead. So some of them have chosen to repaint their armour in red for Ennead. Even you got to have Dire Avengers here in red, and the just the regular Guardians and such. And of course you have his logos and stuff also dotted about on them. And that goes to show you that other followers of Ennead will like put his symbol onto their armour, different places. Some of the Black Guardians actually inverted their colour schemes, which is really cool. So yeah, really interesting stuff. So yeah, even like Harem Banshees look in red and Fire Dragons in red. So it really gives you that sort of quite a lot you can sort of do with your army. You can go for regular colours, or you can like have a whole army in red just to represent the followers of Ennead. So that's quite cool. We have a little bit more here. We have some Harlequins and some Incubi also following suit. And we have some Drakari or Dark Eldar down here as well, like showing like the Witcher's tattooing his logo onto themselves and such. So yeah, quite interesting. It gives you quite a lot of different ideas if you want to do your own army following Ennead. Okay, so we are now into the rules. We have got there. So normal just stuff here, talking about missions and stuff. So yeah, we will talk about missions. I think there's a few. I'll just skip through a little bit because four missions. Okay. So take a swig of drink and we'll get straight into this one. This is the Obsidian Gate. So one player must be Eldar, and they must include an Autarch, and their opponent is Chaos Demons. and they must include the Mask of Slaanesh. So of course, you can still use these missions with any army you want, really. You don't have to use the armies they say, but this is just to represent sort of playing this battle from the story, essentially. So the Chaos Demons player has a 12-inch deployment, and then there's an obsidian gate there, which I assume is where the Eldar will come from, so we will have a look. So you must place a suitable piece of terrain that's approximately 12 inches wide at the centre of one of the long edges of the battlefield to represent the obsidian gate. Chaos Demon player sets up all their units not being held in reserve anywhere within the deployment zone. Oh, and however, Scarbrand must be kept in Deep Strike reserve. Yeah, you must also have Scarbrand as well as a mask, it seems. And the Eldar player do not deploy any of their units yet. They all arrive during the first turn. And the Eldar player gets the first turn. We have variable game length. Unless all the demon players have moved through the Obsidian Gate, so we will assume that is the victory condition for them. Let's have a look. So it does use victory points. The objectives are the Eldar player just gets a victory point for each enemy unit that's destroyed. Excuse me, just for 30 seconds, just to turn this volume down. There we go. And if the Chaos Demon player successfully destroys the Obsidian Gate's wards, which we'll look at in a minute, they receive 3 victory points. Once the Chaos Demon player has destroyed the portal's wards, they earn 2 each time a Chaos Demon unit voluntarily leaves play via the Obsidian Gate. So let's look at the special rules. It does use the Emperor Storms table, and it also uses reserves. In the first turn, the Eldar player can move any of their units, including flyers, onto the battlefield via their own table edge, or either of the short table edges if eligible to do so. Or they can deep strike if they can do so as well. The Obsidian Gate is an impassable building with armour value 13, 6 hull points and a 4+ invuln save. But not against any... So, the invuln save is not against any attacks from Scarbrand. Penetrating hits against the gate are treated as glancing. When it's reduced to no, hull points for wards are broken, and the Obsidian Gate is considered to be ruins for the remainder of the battle. Units cannot enter or leave the battlefield via the 2 short table edges, unless they have a flyer. Fire monsters, creature, jet bike, jetpack, jump, or skimmer type. So these are meant to represent some cliff edges, essentially. When Scarbrand arrives from Deep Strike, each unit, friend or foe, within 8 inches of its final position suffers D3 Strength 6 AP4 hits, and vehicles are hit on their side armour, and Scarbrand himself is not affected. If the Obsidian Gate wards are broken, units belonging to a Chaos Demon player can voluntarily leave play by moving into base contact with the Obsidian Gate. As soon as one of the unit's models moves into base contact with the gate, the whole unit is removed. So essentially, the demon player has got to try and destroy this gate, and then to earn extra victory points, they have to sort of go through it. So that's quite cool, and you could play that with any army, really. It would work best using demons, because if you've got a slow army going across the board, you're probably not going to do much, but a deep strike army coming in, they could do quite some damage, and yeah, it'd be quite cool. So next we have the Architects of Pain. So this army must be the Ynnari faction. We'll look at that later. And they must include the Triumvirate of Yniad. Their opponent is Homunculi's Coven. So that's quite interesting. And it must be chosen from the Homunculus Coven's Codex supplement. Can we even still get that? I'm not 100% sure. But so that's interesting. So it's Eldar versus Dark Eldar here. So they're not always teamed up. So we have an 18-inch deployment for Homunculi and 12-inch for the Ynnari. So the Homunculus Coven's player sets up first, but they do so by setting up a marker in their deployment zone for each unit in the army that they intend to start for battle deployed on the battlefield. Each marker needs to be distinct, by having a different number, for example, so it can correspond to a specific unit. They must write down which unit each marker represents and keep this information secret. So I quite like that idea of a setup. And once a Homunculus Covenants player has set up all their markers, the Inari player sets up all their units not being held in reserve anywhere within their deployment zone. Once this has been done, the Homunculus Cover player then reveals which marker corresponds to each unit. The first model in each unit must be placed exactly where the unit's setup marker was placed. So it's kind of like hidden deployment. And I quite like that. So the Homunculus Covenants player takes first turn, however the Inari player can attempt to seize the initiative. We have variable game length, however, if all 3 models from the Triumvirate or Vineyard are slain, the game ends immediately. So, victory conditions are if at the end of the game at least 1 model from the Triumvirate of Vineyard is alive on the battlefield, the Inari player wins. Any other result is a victory to the Homunculus Covenants player. So it's all about keeping them 3 alive, really. Games like that do annoy me sometimes because someone could just leave one right in the corner and then just play the rest of the game as normal, and you know, like, you can be a bit boring sometimes if you play it that way. So the Homunculus Covenants player can reroll failed charge rolls for all their units. In this mission, Biel Tan cannot use Vilifsar, the Sword of Souls. However, he has a preferred enemy special rule for the duration of a mission. Rivrain, I hope that's how you pronounce her name, and the Visarch must begin the game deployed on the battlefield, so it cannot be held in reserve. Biel Tan must arrive on the battlefield as soon as it is able to do so. All units belonging to the Inari player have Feel No Pain 6+, and if a model already has Feel No Pain, it adds 1 to their Feel No Pain rolls to a maximum of 3+, and any unique characters that were slain from the Architects of Pain mission, which is this mission, including characters from the Triumvirate, begin the Ancestral Foes mission with a single wound remaining. So these sort of mission is meant to be played before the next one, so it's like an ongoing story. So here is Ancestral Foes. So again you have the Inari player, and they are up against a Slaanesh player this time. Must have the demons of, and all their units must be demons of Slaanesh, and they must include the mask. So I like how they're sort of tying the 2 missions together. After setting up the terrain, place a total of 5 objective markers, 1 at the centre of each 2x2 section of the battlefield, with the exception of the Inari player's deployment zone, which is here. So you can see the dots marked on the map there. So there are objectives. The Inari player sets up all their units, with the exception of flyers and infiltrators, anywhere within their deployment zone, and the Slaanesh player does not deploy any of their units yet. They all arrive during the first turn, which they obviously automatically gets. If at the end of the game all models from the Triumvirate of Vineyard has been slain, the Slaanesh player wins. If at the end of the game the Inari player has located the Crone Sword, at least 1 model from the Triumvirate of Vineyard is still on the battlefield, then they win, and any other result is a draw. So if you're playing it after the other one and you're and you lost the one before, then your Triumvirate are all going to be back on 1 wound, and yeah, probably going to lose this one too. Again, it uses the Empiric Storm table and reserves. All units belonging to the Inari player have Hatred Demons of Slaanesh, so it would be quite handy to them. Only 1 of the objective markers represents the Crone Sword that the Inari are seeking. The following rules apply. Each time a non-vehicle Inari unit ends its movement phase within 1 inch of an objective marker, you roll a d6. On a 1 to 5, you remove the objective marker from play. This is not the correct location. On the roll of 6, the Inari player has located the Crone Sword. So the game could be over quite quickly if you just move over there and roll a 6. As soon as the Crone Sword is located, all other objective markers are immediately removed from play. If 4 objective markers have been searched unsuccessfully, the 5th objective marker is identified as the Crone Sword's location. So you're always going to get it regardless. If the Imkan has been slain when the Inari player locates the Crone Sword, they can immediately return to play, placing it as close as possible to the location of the Crone Sword. But they must be at least 1 inch away from enemy models. If, however, Biel Tan is still alive, the Ynnari player must remove it from the battlefield and immediately return it to players described above. In either case, it was restored to 5 wounds and gains the Rampage special rule, so that's quite cool. In their first turn, the Slaanesh player must move all their units onto the battlefield via any table edge other than that of the Sinkhole Pit, which is this basically the table edge of the Ynnari. Or they can arrive via Deep Strike. Any Slaanesh units that fall back must do so towards the nearest table edge. Any Ynnari units that fall back must do so towards the centre of the board. In each of their shooting phases, after the first, the Demons of Slaanesh player can pick a single enemy unit anywhere within 24 inches of the table edge representing the Sinkhole Pit, this one. Each model in that unit must pass an initiative test or suffer a Strength 10 AP2 hit. Vehicles suffer this on their side armour on a roll of a 4+. And you roll separately for each model in the case of vehicle squadrons. Okay. So mission 4 is War in the Webway. So this again uses Ynnari, and they must have the Triumvirate. Their opponent this time is a Tzeentch player, and all their units must have the Demon of Tzeentch special rule, or be part of a Thousand Suns detachment, and they must include Araman. So instead of having one large battlefield this time, you have 3 24 by 48 battlefields basically, which is essentially the same size as a normal one. So you just divide it up into 3. Players alternate setting up units, starting with the Ynnari player. So much like Age of Sigmar here. First Ynnari unit to be deployed can be set up in any one of 3 deployment zones. Dum dum dum. The Tzeentch player must then deploy a unit in the same battlefield within their deployment zone. The second and third units belonging to Ynnari must set up in the same way, but each on a different battlefield. So you're really just spreading them out. Players then take it in turns to set up the remaining units one at a time. But they can set them up on any battlefield or in reserve as normal. Okay, so you could just have one in that one if you really would. Roll a dice. On an odd roll, the Tzeentch player has the first turn. On an even roll, the Ynnari player goes first. That's quite cool. We have variable game length again. So victory conditions. Each players get a victory point. For each battlefield that only has models belonging to that army remaining, the player with the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. If both players have the same number of victory points, then the game is a draw. So you basically just got to try and take over your deployment, your board. And I guess you can't move across each one, so they're all little separate battles going on there. So that's quite interesting. Units that arrive from reserve can enter play when moving on to any battlefield from any point along the controlling player's table edge. Here we go. Units can leave a battlefield to reinforce another, but only if all the enemy models on the battlefield they are in have been completely destroyed. So you can jump across, but only if you already control that. Such units can enter ongoing reserves instead of making a move in their movement phase, and then can enter play from any point along either short edge of the battlefield, with a controlling player's choice in their next turn. So they can actually come from either side, which is quite cool. Each of the 3 battlefields represents a separate tunnel within the webway. Because of this, models cannot move from one battlefield to another unless doing so as reinforcements, which we've just discussed, and cannot attack, use psychic powers, or interact in any way with the models from other units on the battlefield. By the same token, all models in a unit must be set up in the same battlefield. A unit cannot be split between 2 different battlefields. So it's meant to represent tunnels in the webway, so that's quite cool. These changes aside, turns are carried out as normal, with each player moving and fighting with their units on all 3 battlefields simultaneously. Also has a little note saying, be careful not to move all the models out of the battlefield, as you'll not score any victory points for if no models are there at the end of the game. You should also be careful not to leave a battlefield too lightly garrisoned in case enemy reserves deploy in the battlefield and steal it from you. So yeah, if I wiped out my opponent in that battlefield and they wiped me out in that one, there's no reason why they couldn't just come across and then wipe me out in there, so be wary of that. So how are we doing for time? Not too bad. So we will look at the rules for the new characters, and then afterwards I'll possibly just do a separate video looking at the formations. I think that's a way to do it. So another quick drink. Lovely. Okay, so you have Rain, or Rain, however you want to pronounce it. There she is. Really nice model, and I'm not keen on the headdress. If it wasn't for that, I think she'd be fantastic, but I'm just not a massive fan of that. But really nice model nonetheless. So she is ballistic skill and weapon skill and ballistic skill 8, strength 3, toughness 3, wounds 3, initiative 8, 4 attacks, leadership 10, and only a 6+ save, although she does have a 4+ invuln. She has the favoured of Iniad Warlord trait, and we'll look at that in the next video. Eternal Warrior, Fleet, Independent Character, Psycho Mastery level 2, Strength from Death, and Stubborn. And I think it's probably worth looking at the Strength of Death special rule. No, I'll tell you what, we'll look at that in the next one, because I think that's just an army-wide special rule anyway, so. At the start of each psychic phase, generate D3 extra warp charge points, and only she can use these extra warp charge points. Whenever an Eldar model is slain 7 inches and within 7 inches of her, you roll a dice, and on the 4+, she immediately regains a lost wound. If that model is a Psycho, you can add 1 to her mastery level to a maximum of 4 and immediately generate another psychic power for her. That's quite cool. She generates her powers from the Sanctic Demonology table and the Revenant Discipline. She also has the Sword of Sorrows, which is +1 strength, AP 3, and instant death. So she's not too bad. She has 200 points though. Maybe a little bit pricey, I think. Eternal Warrior is a must, I think. Being toughness 3, otherwise she just dies so easily. But I think even then she's toughness 3, 4+ save, 3 wounds. She's probably going to die quite easily anyway. The Visage is next. He's only 150 points. His model is my favourite of the 3. He's like just awesome. Really awesome. He popped up in the last book and there's a lot of mystery surrounding him. We were all interested to know who he was, and here he is. Weapon skill ballistic skill 7, strength 3, toughness 3, 3 wounds, initiative 7, 4 attacks, leadership 10, and a 3+ save. He does have Eternal Warrior, Fleet, Independent Character, Precision Strikes, Rampage, Strength from Death, and Stubborn. Again, he has he regenerates a wound on a 4+ for any models that died within 7 inches. If that model is a character, he gets +1 to his attacks characteristic, up to a maximum of 7. So quite cool. It's not a bad little rule, but for only 3 wounds and that, again, I think could die quite quickly. If this Visage is in a unit with Irvain, you can choose for her to pass Lookout rolls automatically. If you do so, you must allocate the wounds to the Visage. So he's kind of like a personal bodyguard to her. Additionally, he always passes the initiative test when making a glorious intervention to take her place. The Visage always has a Warlord trait generated from the Inari Warlord traits table, even if he is not your Warlord. For purposes of his Warlord trait, the Visage is considered to be a Warlord. So if any Warlord trait says it affects the Warlord, it'll just affect him. His sword is actually really cool. +2 strength, AP 2. And as for silent special rule, so enemy units within 3 inches use the lowest leadership characteristic in their unit rather than the highest. And it's not unwieldy either, so it's always nice to have an AP 2 weapon that is not unwieldy. And then lastly, we're going to look at the Khan. And we will just quickly look at their formation, I think, because obviously they're all together. 275 points, weapon skill 9, ballistic skill 7, strength 6, toughness 6, 5 wounds, initiative 10, 6 attacks, leadership 10, and 3+ save. So, and he is also Eternal Warrior, so he is a lot harder to kill. He's a demon, so he gets that 5+ invuln as well. He has Deep Strike, Eternal Warrior, Fleet, preferred enemy demons of Slanesh. Excuse me, he's a level 3 Psyker, and he has a strength from death. Again, whenever a Eldari model is killed within 7 inches of him, you roll a dice, but this time it's a 3+ to regain a lost wound, but there's no additional benefits. He must be deployed in Deep Strike Reserve, unless the Incarn has been slain. Each time a unit, friend or foe, is completely destroyed, unless it was destroyed because it fled the battle, you may immediately place the Incarn as close as possible to the position of that unit, but at least 1 inches from all enemy models, even if the Incarn is still in reserve. He may not charge in a turn in which it uses its ability. Okay. So basically whenever a unit dies, you can choose to set him up. You don't have to, but that's basically how he enters the battlefield. So it's quite interesting. The Incarn and all friendly non-vehicle units with the Inari faction within 12 inches of him have Fearless and Feel No Pain. Really nice. He also generates his powers from Santic Demonology and the Revenant Disciplines. His sword is Strength User, AP2, Fleshbane and Armorbane and Soulblaze. So, 275 points, he's probably worth it. He's really, really good. Yeah, really good. Really survivable. I'm just not a fan of the model so much. Which is a shame. I just don't like all this stuff happening here. I'd rather he was just a big avatar guy, like the avatar we're used to. But I see from fluff-wise why he's like how he is, but yeah, not a massive fan. So we'll just quickly look at their formation before we end this video, and we'll go into part 2. Part 2 will be up on the channel at a later date. So friendly non-vehicle units from this formation, sorry, let's start again. Friendly non-vehicle units from the Inari formation or detachment within 12 inches of 2 models from this formation have the Fearless special rule, whilst all 3 models from this formation on the battlefield, all friendly units with the Inari faction have Fearless. So as soon as the avatar comes in, everyone's Fearless. As long as these two aren't dead. If all 3 models from this formation are on the battlefield, you can add 1 to any rolls made for the avatar. The avatar of Yniad, the champion of Yniad, and Herald of Yniad special rules. Am I going nuts here? To add 1 to any rolls made for their special rules. What are their special rules? Oh, I guess. Alright, I see. Okay, I'm not going mad. Basically, that regenerate and wound stuff. So, wow. So, the Incarn would actually get that on a 2+, and the others would get it on a 3+. That's pretty cool, actually. Nice little buff. Okay, there isn't that long left, so the next video will just be a short one. But I do want to leave it there, because I don't want to get these too long. So, that's the Gathering Storm. We've looked at the missions, and we have looked at the new miniatures. And in the next video, we will look at some formations. I think there's warlord traits and stuff as well, so you've got that to look forward to. As always, if you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up. There's my thumbs. You can also subscribe to our channel down below, and I think now if you click on the little bell symbol, you can get notifications every time we upload a new video. We normally aim for 2 videos a week, sometimes more, and very rarely less. I'm quite happy to say. We now also have a Patreon account, and we do actually now have a bat rep up on our Patreon, which you can watch a week early before it's released. It's due to go up next week, but it's already up on our Patreon, ready to watch, and you can watch it for as little as $1. So check that out if you're interested. Part 2 of this video will probably go on Patreon early as well, but probably just a few days early rather than a whole week, because I won't get it up this week anyway. So yeah, you can check them out for just $1. And there's other bonuses as well for other pledge amounts, and you can just check them out following the link below. So, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you all again very soon.